He stared at the screen, his own daughter's school records revealing a second father, Marshall Lamb, listed for the past 2 years. As he heard Tom's voice drift up the stairs, casually mentioning Marsh's name, the truth hit him like a physical blow. Stuart Patterson's fingers drummed against his ergonomic keyboard, the gentle tapping echoing through his home office. The school's new emergency contact portal glowed on his dual monitors. Its interface was deceptively simple. As a veteran of rival tech industries, he had reviewed countless security implementations, but this one made him pause. "Dad, where's my blue science folder?" Isabella's voice carried from upstairs, interrupting his thoughts. "Check your backpack side pocket, honey," Stuart called back, his eyes fixed on the screen. The cursor blinked in the parent/guardian section, where he had already entered his information. A small plus symbol waited to add additional contacts. His daughter's footsteps thundered down the stairs. "Found it. Hey, did you finish that school thing? Mrs. Rodriguez said we can't start the semester without it." Stuart swiveled in his chair as Isabella appeared in the doorway. Her 12-year-old face was framed by dark curls that matched his own. "Almost done, sweetheart, just double-checking everything. Mom already did her part yesterday," Isabella said, adjusting her backpack strap. "She said to make sure you don't forget about the medical stuff, right?" Stuart nodded, turning back to the screen. He navigated to the medical authorization section. His security credentials automatically granted him access to the deeper layers of the database. A force of habit made him scan the audit logs, timestamps, access patterns, and linked documents. That's when he saw it. Second father, Marshall Lamb, CEO of GROWLED Tech Solutions. Stuart's throat tightened. He clicked the entry, expecting to find a system error. Instead, more details populated the screen. Emergency contact information, authorized pickup permissions, even attendance records for parent-teacher conferences dating back 2 years. "Isabella," he kept his voice steady. "Who's Marshall Lamb?" His daughter's sudden silence felt heavier than any answer. When he turned around, she was gone, her footsteps already retreating upstairs. His security training kicked in. He began methodically exploring the digital trail. Each click revealed another layer of the deception. Medical records appeared, showing genetic testing from 3 years ago. The requesting parent's name, Maxwell Lamb, stood out in stark black text. His phone buzzed, a text from Tom. "Picking up Isabella for lunch with her study group. Back by 3. Study group? Stuart pulled up Isabella's school calendar. Every Thursday lunch for the past year was marked study group with M. Lamb, Advanced Science Program. The calendar entries were shared with both Tom's and Marsh's accounts. He opened a secure terminal, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Within minutes, he had Maxwell Lamb's digital footprint displayed across his screens. CEO of GROWLED Tech Solutions, Harvard MBA, regular speaker at tech conferences. A photo showed a tall man with a silver streak in his hair, standing confidently at a podium. Stuart recognized the backdrop. It was from last year's cybersecurity summit, an event he had attended. The office phone rang, displaying Rival Tech's internal number. Stuart let it go to voicemail. His attention was caught by a social media post from 6 months ago. It showed Isabella at a science fair, proudly holding a first-place ribbon. Marshall Lamb stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder. The caption read, "So proud of my brilliant girl #father-daughter moments." The post had been quickly deleted, but Stuart's specialized tools had cached it. The comment section revealed familiar names, friends, colleagues, family members, all responding with hearts and congratulations. None seemed surprised by Marsh's presence. Stuart's email pinged, a calendar reminder for next week, Isabella's violin recital. He clicked it, stomach churning as he saw the full attendee list. Marshall Lamb's name was there, marked as accepted 3 weeks ago. The house felt suddenly too quiet, too empty. Stuart pulled up his own photos from the past few years, scanning them with new eyes. School events, birthday parties, family gatherings. How many moments had he missed? How many times had he been too busy securing other people's secrets to notice his own life being infiltrated? His phone buzzed again. A corporate email marked urgent, security breach detection protocol update required. Stuart laughed bitterly. He had spent 15 years building digital fortresses, monitoring for the smallest anomalies that might indicate a breach, yet somehow he missed the most important security breach of all, the one happening in his own home. The front door opened downstairs, Tom's voice drifted up. Isabella, don't forget your violin. Marcia's picking you up for practice at 4. Stuart closed his eyes, letting the pieces fall into place. The late-night phone calls Tom claimed were work emergencies, the weekend client meetings that kept her away, Isabella's sudden interest in advanced science programs so different from her usual artistic pursuits. He opened a new document and began typing, documenting everything he had discovered: dates, times, access patterns, digital breadcrumbs that formed a map of betrayal. 3 years of careful manipulation, hidden in plain sight within the very systems he helped design. The irony wasn't lost on him. As Chief Information Security Officer, his job was to protect against threats, to notice patterns that didn't fit. He had been so focused on external dangers that he missed the internal compromise of his own family security. Stuart heard Isabella's violin case being opened downstairs, followed by the soft sounds of her practice scales. He checked the time. 3:15 p.m., 45 minutes until Marcia Lamb would arrive, playing his role in this carefully orchestrated deception. He reached for his phone, composing a message to Tom. "We need to talk. Now." Then he stood, straightened his jacket, and prepared to face the architects of his own obsolescence. The kitchen's marble floor amplified every click of Tom's heels as she paced. Stuart sat at the island counter, his laptop open to the damning evidence he had discovered. Isabella's violin practice provided a surreal soundtrack to their confrontation, her scales floating down from upstairs. "How long?" Stuart's voice remained controlled, professional, the same tone he used in security breach meetings. Tom stopped pacing, turning to face him with an expression he had never seen before. Not guilt, not fear, but something closer to contempt. "You really want to do this now, 15 minutes before Isabella's lesson?" "Marcia's lesson, you mean?" Stuart turned his laptop around, displaying the calendar entries. 3 years of lessons, actually, along with genetic tests, school pickups, and parent-teacher conferences I apparently attended but don't remember. A cold laugh escaped Tom's lips, the sound so foreign it made Stuart flinch. "You really think you're the master of secrets in this family?" She moved closer, her designer blazer catching the afternoon light. The great Stuart Patterson, protecting corporate data while his own life slips through his fingers. "Answer the question, Tom." She leaned against the counter, her wedding ring catching the light. "Marcia and I met at a tech conference 4 years ago, the one you skipped for a security audit in Singapore." Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "He actually noticed me, Stuart, not just as someone's wife, but as a person with ideas, ambitions." "And Isabella? When did you decide to give her a replacement father?" "We didn't decide anything. It happened naturally." Tom's voice softened slightly. "Marcia took an interest in her education, her future. While you were building firewalls, he was building relationships. Did you know Em is interested in biochemistry, that she wants to cure genetic diseases? Marcia's been mentoring her, connecting her with real scientists." Stuart's fingers tightened around his coffee mug. "And my father? How does Samuel fit into this master plan?" "Your father?" Tom's laugh returned, sharper this time. "Samuel recognized potential when he saw it. That beach house you think he's been lending us for family vacations? He's been helping us manage a trust for Isabella's future, a future with her real father." The violin music stopped. 2 brief footsteps overhead indicated Isabella was packing up for her lesson. "Real father." Stuart repeated the words, tasting their bitterness. "Is that what you told her to call him?" "We never told her to call him anything. She chose it herself after he spent actual time with her, helping with science projects, attending her events." Tom checked her watch. "Speaking of which, Maxwell will be here soon. I suggest you process this somewhere else. Isabella doesn't need to see you like this." Stuart stood slowly, his security training helping him maintain composure. "Like what exactly? Like a husband discovering his wife's betrayal? Or like a father learning his daughter's been claimed by another man through a web of digital paperwork?" "Oh, please." Tom rolled her eyes. "Don't act so shocked. You've been emotionally absent for years, hiding behind your screens and security protocols. Marcia and I, we've been building something extraordinary, something real." The doorbell rang. Isabella's footsteps thundered down the stairs, her violin case thumping against each step. "That's Marcia," she called out, her voice excited. "Mom, are you coming to watch today?" Tom maintained eye contact with Stuart. Of course, sweetie, I'll be right there. She lowered her voice. Make a scene now, and you'll only hurt Isabella. Is that what you want? Stuart watched as his daughter rushed past the kitchen, catching a glimpse of her happy face as she opened the front door. Marcia's voice drifted in, warm and paternal. There's my girl, ready to tackle that new piece. Tom grabbed her purse from the counter. We'll discuss this later. I suggest you use this time to think carefully about your next move. Marcia has resources you can't imagine, Stuart. Don't do anything hasty. She walked out, her heels clicking against the marble one last time. Through the kitchen window, Stuart watched as they loaded into Marcia's Tesla. Isabella in the back seat, Tom in the front, Marcia holding doors and sharing smiles. The perfect family picture. Stuart turned back to his laptop, pulling up Marcia Lamb's company profile. GROWLED Tech Solutions, a rising star in the tech world, known for aggressive acquisitions and innovative leadership. He opened a secure browser and began digging deeper, looking for connections, patterns, vulnerabilities. They thought he was just a security expert, someone who built walls and monitored threats. They would soon learn that those same skills could be used for offense as well as defense. The betrayal wasn't just an affair. It was a carefully orchestrated takeover of his life, piece by piece, year by year. And Stuart Patterson knew exactly how to orchestrate a takeover of his own. The leather upholstery of Clint Irwin's office chair creaked as he poured another finger of whiskey. Outside his window, San Joanna's financial district sparkled in the twilight. Stuart sat across from his best friend of 20 years, watching as the truth spilled out with each sip. They approached me 6 months ago, Clint admitted, swirling the amber liquid. Marcia and Tom had it all planned out. They'd offer me partnership in GROWLED Tech if I helped discredit you professionally. Stuart kept his voice neutral. And you refused, obviously. Clint knocked back his drink. But, Stuart, they've been planning your replacement in every aspect of your life. It's not just about Isabella or Tom anymore. Tell me everything. Clint moved to his desk, pulling out a file. Your family lawyer, Daisy Lawson. She's been representing both families. Every contract you've signed in the past 2 years has had hidden clauses preparing for your eventual removal. Stuart thought of all the documents Daisy had handled, property transfers, investment accounts, even M's trust fund. How did you discover this? Because they wanted me to handle the financial transition. Clint's hands shook slightly as he opened the file. Look at these partnership agreements. The language is clever. Gradual transfer of authority, contingency clauses triggered by personal misconduct or professional negligence. The papers detailed a complex web of legal and financial maneuvers. Stuart recognized some of the shell companies from his earlier research. What about Dr. Garrison, your couple's therapist? Clint laughed humorlessly. She's been coaching Tom and Marcia for months, teaching them how to gradually shift Isabella's emotional allegiance. There are session notes, recorded conversations. Stuart's phone buzzed, a text from Tom. Isabella's staying at Marcia's tonight. Science project deadline tomorrow. They've thought of everything. Clint continued, pouring another drink. School records, medical authorizations, even your father's involvement. Samuel's been acting as their financial advisor, helping them move assets through offshore accounts. My own father. Stuart's voice hardened. Why are you telling me this now? Clint met his friend's eyes. Because they're making their final moves. Marcia's company is preparing a hostile takeover of rival tech. Once that happens, you'll lose everything. Your job, your reputation, access to Isabella. Stuart stood, moving to the window. Below, cars crawled through the evening traffic, their headlights creating rivers of light. How many others are involved? The network's extensive. Business associates, family friends, even some of your own security team. Clint joined him at the window. They've been building this spider's web for years, Stuart, each strand carefully placed, tested, strengthened. And they offered you partnership. Stuart turned to his friend. Why did you refuse? Because 20 years of friendship means something to me. Clint's voice cracked slightly. And because what they're doing, it's not just unethical, it's cruel. They're not just replacing you, they're erasing you. Stuart's phone buzzed again. A photo from Tom, Isabella in Marcia's home office, surrounded by scientific equipment, beaming at the camera. The caption read, Future scientist at work #proud parents. I need names, Stuart said quietly. Everyone involved, every connection, every detail you can remember. Clint nodded, returning to his desk. I've been keeping records, dates, conversations, meetings. But, Stuart, what are you going to do? They've already won most of the key players to their side. Stuart thought of his daughter's smile in the photo, of Tom's cold laugh in the kitchen, of Marcia's carefully crafted role as the perfect father figure. He thought of the digital trails he had discovered, the legal documents with hidden clauses, the therapy sessions designed to reprogram his daughter's affections. They think they're the architects, he said, his voice calm. But they forgot something important. What's that? Every system has vulnerabilities. Every network has weak points. Stuart turned from the window, his expression set. And I spent 15 years learning how to find them. Clint recognized the look in his friend's eyes. It was the same expression Stuart wore when hunting down security breaches. Focused, determined, dangerous. Whatever you're planning, Clint said, I want in. It's time someone stood up to their manipulation. Stuart nodded, already mentally mapping out his counterattack. They had built their web carefully, yes, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had left him alive to fight back. The night deepened outside Clint's office as the two men began their work, unraveling the threads of betrayal one by one. In his pocket, Stuart's phone vibrated with yet another cheerful family image. Every alert strengthened his determination. They believed they had crafted the ideal program to eliminate him from his existence. Now, it was time to inject some flaws into their operation. Stuart's home office had transformed into a command center. 3 monitors showed various facets of Maxwell Lamb's digital domain, each display uncovering an additional tier of deceit. 2 weeks had elapsed since Clint's admission, and Stuart had not squandered a moment. Mr. Patterson? A tentative voice emerged over a secure line. This is Flora Watson from GROWLED Tech Analytics. Stuart sat up straighter in his seat. Miss Watson, I appreciate you agreeing to this virtual meeting. Please, call me Flora. Her tone held a hint of anxiety. I got your message regarding Marshall Lamb's actions. How were you aware of the harassment case he concealed 3 years ago? Stuart accessed a heavily encrypted document. The same method I used to locate his cryptocurrency assets. I tracked digital clues. A bitter chuckle came through the connection. 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days ago, he labeled it mentoring. When I threatened to report him, suddenly my performance evaluations plummeted. But that isn't why you reached out to me, is it? No. Stuart opened another window, showing intricate financial dealings. I require someone who comprehends GROWLED Tech's internal frameworks, someone capable of assisting me in tracking years of financial deceit, someone possessing both the expertise and the incentive to witness Marcia's downfall. Silence occupied the line. At last, Flora spoke, her voice firmer. Display what you've uncovered. For the next hour, Stuart guided her through his findings. Shell corporations concealing cryptocurrency dealings, corporate funds rerouted through a labyrinth of international accounts, a sequence of financial manipulation that would excite the SEC. The intricacy is notable, Flora conceded, but verifying it, that's a separate challenge. Marcia is cautious. He employs squads of attorneys and accountants shielding him. That's precisely why I require your assistance. Stuart brought up a segment of code he had been developing. I'm creating an algorithm to trace these trends, but I need someone who understands where to search, someone with lawful access to GROWLED Tech systems. And what do I gain? Stuart offered a grim smile. Beyond justice, how about your former position? Reinstated with a promotion after Marcia falls? GROWLED Tech will require ethical leadership. Flora's typing was audible over the line. Forward me your materials. I'll require several days to examine them. But, Mr. Patterson, yes? Ensure it causes significant damage. Over the subsequent 3 weeks, Stuart and Flora operated in precise coordination. She supplied internal entry points. He engineered instruments to follow the money. Their algorithm became increasingly advanced, charting years of financial misconduct. Observe this. Flora's tone conveyed excitement one evening. He's been utilizing corporate funds to construct a personal empire, properties, private firms, even that laboratory that conducted your daughter's genetic testing, all acquired via a network of shell companies. Stuart moved nearer to his monitor. Can you record everything? Already initiated, but we must proceed cautiously. If Marcia suspects, he will. Stuart accessed a secure email. Because we're going to present him with a larger issue. How might the SEC respond to an anonymous tip regarding unregistered cryptocurrency trading? Flora's grin was perceptible. A diversion. Precisely. Stewart started drafting the message. While they probe that, we'll be tracking everything else. Each transaction, every shell company, every cent he's stolen. He'll retaliate, anticipate it. Stewart considered Isabella, likely at Marcia's residence at that moment, being fed additional falsehoods. That's why this is merely the commencement. The tip was dispatched at midnight, routed through multiple proxy layers. By morning, the SEC would have their initial lead to pursue, but Stewart was already concentrating on the subsequent stage. Flora, how would you feel about a promotion occurring sooner rather than later? What do you imply? Stewart displayed GlobeTech's organizational diagram. Marcia will require someone to blame when issues begin deteriorating, someone who's been scrutinizing financial documents. A flawless scapegoat. Me. Flora's voice contained no trepidation, only comprehension. Yes, but while he's fixated on publicly discrediting you, I'll be privately compiling evidence. Flora hesitated. You've meticulously planned this. Stewart glanced at a picture of Isabella on his desk, taken before all this started. They invested years scheming my substitution. I'm devising their irrelevance. As dawn neared, Stewart and Flora finalized their approach. The SEC tip was simply the initial domino. Behind it stood a meticulously arranged sequence of disclosures, each intended to reveal another aspect of Marcia's corruption. One final matter, Flora stated before disconnecting. Why did you truly select me? There are additional analysts who could assist. Stewart pondered her inquiry. Because you comprehend what it's like to have someone attempt to obliterate you, to be substituted, discredited, marginalized, and because you decline to shatter. Identical to you, precisely like me. Stewart started powering down his equipment. Obtain some rest, Flora. Tomorrow, we commence deconstructing Maxwell Lamb's empire, fragment by fragment. Ava Wood's corner office at Magnus Venture Capital provided a stunning vista of the bay. Stewart sat opposite his former college companion, observing as she assessed his proposal. A ghost, she reiterated, setting down the tablet. You intend to become a phantom while coordinating one of the most assertive corporate acquisitions I've witnessed in years. Not merely a corporate acquisition. Stewart handed her another file. A total demolition of Marcia Lamb's life, identically to how he attempted to dismantle mine. Ava's eyes narrowed as she perused. These subsidiary firms are all susceptible to takeover, but the timing must be impeccable. That's where the ghost protocol enters. Stewart leaned closer. For the next 3 months, I must seem to be unraveling. Absent from meetings, drinking at work events, experiencing a very visible collapse, while actually conferring with me to organize the acquisition. Ava grinned gradually. Clever. But why Magnus Venture Capital? Because you're the final individual they'd suspect. Marcia assumes he knows all my associations, but he's unaware of that summer we spent interning at Goldman Sachs, or how you aided me through my father's initial betrayal. Ava rose, moving to her window. Speaking of Samuel, how does he factor into this? He isn't aware yet. Currently, he believes he's shrewdly managing their concealed assets. Stewart joined her at the window. Let him persist in that belief. The following week, Stewart's metamorphosis commenced. He arrived tardy to a board meeting, his tie askew, faintly smelling of whiskey. The subsequent day, he skipped a vital security review. Stewart, his assistant, Courtney, knocked on his office door. Mr. Lamb is on the line regarding the missed meeting. Inform him I'm unavailable. Stewart intentionally slurred his words. Family crisis. Courtney's worry was palpable. Sir, are you all right? Never improved. He chuckled excessively loudly, ensuring others in the corridor could overhear. Meanwhile, in Ava's office, the genuine labor proceeded. GlobeTech subsidiaries are crucial, she clarified, spreading out papers. Marcia has been employing them to conceal his financial manipulation. If we obtain controlling stakes, we command his leverage. Stewart examined the company frameworks. How rapidly can you act? The initial acquisitions are already advancing through our own shell companies. Marcia is too preoccupied observing you self-destruct to notice. The pattern persisted for weeks. Stewart would seem inebriated at corporate gatherings, ranting about treachery in family. Every public display was meticulously staged. Each omitted meeting was utilized plotting with Ava. One night, he staggered into a restaurant where Tom and Marcia were eating. Well, if it isn't the blissful pair, he proclaimed loudly, swaying slightly. Maxwell rose, his face a guise of concern. Stuart, allow me to summon a car for you. Why? Stuart laughed acridly. So you can seize my transportation as well? Identical to how you seized my family. Tom's face reddened with humiliation as other patrons turned to observe. You're causing a spectacle. No, you manufactured the spectacle. Stuart's voice fractured perfectly. Years of spectacles, all scripted, all orchestrated. Did you relish it? Observing me labor while you schemed my replacement. Security advanced, but Marcia waved them off. He's innocuous, merely a man struggling to accept reality. Stuart permitted himself to be escorted out, preserving his unstable stride until he turned the corner. Then he straightened, verified his watch, and proceeded to Ava's office. Impeccable timing, she welcomed him. The documents just arrived. We now command 3 of GlobeTech's essential subsidiaries. Marcia's response. 2 occupied handling the SEC investigation to notice. Your cryptocurrency tip has them dissecting his trading logs. Stuart smiled grimly. And Flora is performing her role superbly. Marcia is convinced she's the vulnerable link, the origin of the SEC tip. He's so concentrated on discrediting her that he hasn't detected what she's genuinely documenting. The ghost protocol continued. Stuart's apparent unraveling became a subject of corporate chatter. Each public episode carefully crafted to attract attention while concealing their actual activities. Tom contacted Ava. She noted during one late-night strategy session. She's concerned about your stability, your access to Isabella. Excellent. Stuart pulled up their acquisition schedule. Let them assume I'm disintegrating. It facilitates the next phase. Regarding that, Ava slid over a document. Samuel's financial advisor, Kay Whitman. She's consented to aid us in tracing his involvement. Apparently, she has her own grievances with his operations. Stuart inspected the document. Each transaction, every discussion between Samuel and Marcia's team meticulously chronicled. My father always instructed me to maintain records. I speculate if he'll value the irony. When do we act against him? Shortly. Stuart observed the sun descending over the bay. First, let's ensure Marcia and Tom feel entirely secure. Let them believe they've triumphed. And then we demonstrate what a genuine acquisition resembles. The Rolling Hills Country Club remained unaltered since Stuart's youth. Identical trimmed lawns, identical hushed discussions, identical atmosphere of privileged conspiracy. Samuel Patterson occupied his customary corner table, observing his son approach with a blend of fatigue and acceptance. You appear awful, Samuel remarked as Stuart seated himself. Tom informs me you've been encountering some challenges. Truly, Stuart's voice was composed, restrained. What else does Tom disclose to you? Beyond investment tactics and asset management advice. Samuel's grip tightened around his scotch glass. So you are aware. I know everything. Stuart positioned a thick folder on the table. Each transaction, every conversation, every betrayal. It's not betrayal. It's to safeguard my granddaughter's future. Samuel leaned forward. Marcia possesses resources, connections, the sort of prospects you never provided. Stuart opened the folder. Kay Whitman has been exceptionally thorough in her documentation. Tax evasion, fraud, unlawful transfers. Did Marcia pledge to shield you if this emerged? Samuel's face whitened slightly. Kay, your Kay has been employed by me for weeks, recording everything. Stuart's voice stayed steady. You taught me that family is paramount. Recall after Mom passed away, when it was solely us. Family first, Stuart, nothing else is important. I was protecting family. Samuel's voice cracked. Isabella's future. By aiding them to erase me. Stuart pushed a document across the table. This is from 3 months ago. You assisted Marcia in establishing a trust that would activate upon my personal decline. Were you plotting my collapse or merely preparing for it? Samuel stared at the paper, realization dawning. How did you obtain this? Identically to how I acquired everything else. By paying attention, by pursuing the money. Stuart reclined. So here is your option, Dad. Aid me in destroying them, or I submit evidence of your participation in tax evasion and fraud to the IRS. You wouldn't. Identically to how you wouldn't assist in ruining your own son. Stuart's smile was icy. Perhaps Marcia is correct. Perhaps Isabella does require a different type of father, one who understands that loyalty is non-negotiable. Samuel gazed at his son, truly observing him. For the first time in years, the boy who had sought his endorsement was gone, substituted by a man hardened by betrayal, a man he had contributed to creating. What do you desire me to do? First, transfer the beach house to Isabella's trust, but this instance I'll be the sole controller. Stuart slid over another document. Then you're going to aid me in tracking every asset you helped them conceal, every account, each shell company, all transactions. They'll never pardon me. Identically to how I'll never pardon you. Stuart stood. Sign the documents, Dad. Regard it as your ultimate act of parental guidance. Samuel's hand trembled as he grasped the pen. You've transformed. No. Stuart watched his father sign. I simply learned to participate in the game you instructed me. Family first, recall? Nothing else is important. As Samuel completed signing, Stuart collected the documents. One additional point, that collapse. They're all gossiping about the drinking, the spectacles, the missed meetings. What about it? Thank you for teaching me that appearances can be misleading. Stuart adjusted his tie. Marcia and Tom believe they're witnessing me disintegrate. Instead, they're observing their own empire crumbling. Samuel looked up sharply. The ghost protocol. That's what Kay referenced. Every omitted meeting was spent scheming their ruin. Every intoxicated spectacle concealed another maneuver against them. Stuart tucked the folder under his arm. You instructed me well, Dad, possibly excessively well. As Stuart departed, Samuel called after him. Stuart, what occurs now? Stuart halted, glancing back at the man who had molded him, betrayed him, and ultimately chosen him. Now we demonstrate what a Patterson can genuinely accomplish when cornered. The sun was setting over the golf course as Stuart exited the country club. In his pocket, his phone buzzed with updates from Flora and Ava. The components were aligning, the trap nearly set to activate. They had invested years weaving their web around him, assuming he was ensnared. They never recognized they were the ones being ensnared, their own strings tugged by the puppet they endeavored to discard. The authentic performance was about to commence. The Globe Tech annual shareholder meeting hummed with expectation. Marcia Lamb stood at the podium, exuding assurance as he displayed growth forecasts on the enormous screen behind him. Our third quarter outcomes surpass all anticipations. Marcia indicated a notably striking graph. Globe Tech Solutions persists in leading the sector in innovation and market expansion. In the rear of the room, Flora Watson sat quietly with her laptop, monitoring the clock. Months of preparation had culminated in this instant. Her screen showed a basic message window, asterisk execute protocol, y/ and star. Her phone vibrated. A text from Stuart. Time to conclude his act. Flora's fingers traversed the keyboard. One by one, screens across the auditorium started to alter. The immaculate growth forecasts dissolved, substituted by transaction records, shell company documentation, and years of financial manipulation. Marcia's voice wavered. There appears to be a technical, Mr. Lamb? A voice called from the audience. A woman in a sharp suit stood, elevating a tablet. Aiden Chun, SEC Enforcement Division. Would you like to clarify these cryptocurrency transactions? Before Marcia could answer, another screen illuminated with internal emails and transfer logs. Flora observed as his face lost color, identifying his own correspondence regarding misappropriated corporate funds. This is a breach, Maxwell asserted, striving to maintain command. Security, deactivate the screens. I'm afraid that will not be feasible. Ava Woodward rose from her front row seat as the majority shareholder of Globe Tech's key subsidiaries. I am quite interested in these revelations, she stated. Murmurs rippled through the assembled crowd. Marcia's eyes darted between Ava and the damning evidence displayed around him. Majority shareholder? He sputtered. That is impossible. I control Contra. Not anymore, Ava replied. She nodded to her legal team, who began distributing documents. Magnus Venture Capital has acquired controlling interests in all major Globe Tech subsidiaries over the past 3 months. While you were watching Stuart Patterson's apparent breakdown, you missed your own company being acquired piece by piece. The murmurs grew louder. Board members huddled over the documents, their faces growing grave. But the most interesting evidence, Flora announced, her voice carrying clearly. is what you have been selling to rival tech competitors. New screens lit up, showing correspondence between Maxwell and various tech companies. Detailed technical specifications, product roadmaps, and corporate strategies, all traced back to his private servers. Corporate espionage. The SEC agent noted, making entries on her tablet. That is a serious charge, Mr. Lamb. Marcia gripped the podium. This is absurd. I have never leaked anything. The digital signatures are quite clear. Floor interrupted, projecting the technical analysis. Every document, every email, every transaction, all authenticated with your personal encryption keys. What Marcia did not know, and could not know, was that Stewart had planted those secrets himself, creating an unbreakable chain of evidence leading directly to Marcia's door. The board chairman stood. In light of these revelations, I call for an immediate vote of no confidence in the current CEO. You cannot do this, Marcia's voice cracked. I built this company. No, Ava corrected. You built a house of cards, and now it is falling. Security approached the podium, no longer responding to Marcia's commands. In the chaos that followed, Flora calmly sent one final message to Stewart. Phase 1 complete. Across town, in his rival tech office, Stewart watched the live stream of Marcia's downfall. Everything had worked perfectly. The SEC investigation, Ava's takeover, the evidence of corporate espionage. But this was just a corporate strike. The personal devastation was about to begin. Tom's Tesla purred to a stop in the driveway of her Mediterranean-style mansion. She had left the shareholders' meeting early, unsettled by Marcia's increasingly frantic calls. Her credit card had been declined at lunch, probably just a security hold. The front door would not open. She tried her key again, then the electronic keypad. Nothing. Her phone rang. It was the family lawyer, Daisy. Thank God. Something is wrong with the house security and my cards. Tom, Daisy Lawson's voice shook. The Bar Association just served me with ethics violation charges. Conflict of interest, breach of fiduciary duty. They have evidence. I have been representing both families while orchestrating Stewart's removal from Isabella's life. What? How? Everything is documented. Years of correspondence, legal strategies, backdated paperwork. Daisy's voice cracked. I am facing disbarment. Tom, I cannot help you anymore. The call ended. Tom's phone immediately lit up with another notification, her bank's fraud department. She clicked the alert, watching in horror as account after account displayed the same message. Frozen, pending investigation. A police car rolled up her driveway. Mrs. Patterson, an officer approached. We have a warrant to secure these premises as part of an ongoing financial investigation. This is ridiculous. Tom's designer heels clicked on the pavement as she paced. Let me call Marcia. Mr. Lamb is currently in custody, the officer stated flatly. If you have personal items to retrieve, we will escort you. Tom's phone buzzed again, Dr. Garrison this time. Tom, my license, they are suspending my practice. The ethics board has recordings of our sessions, the ones where we planned how to transition Isabella's affections. The world spun. Tom sat heavily on the front steps, watching as investigators filed into her home. Every carefully constructed piece of her life was unraveling. Simultaneously, her phone lit up with a text from Samuel. The beach house transfer is complete. I am sorry, Tom. I had to choose my son. Another message arrived from Stewart. Just an image of Isabella's genetic test results with a glaring red stamp across them. Fraudulent lab ownership trace to Marcia Lamb. The officer returned. Mrs. Patterson, we need to discuss your daughter's custody situation, given the evidence of documented deception and fraudulent medical testing. No, Tom stood. You do not understand. We did everything legally. The school records, the medical authorizations, the ones based on fraudulent genetic tests. Stewart's voice made her spin around. He stood at the bottom of the driveway, looking immaculate in his business suit. Every legal document establishing Marcia's paternal rights was built on fraud, like everything else in your carefully constructed fantasy. How? Tom's voice failed. How did I destroy your network so completely? Stewart smiled coldly. I learned from the best. You and Marcia spent years orchestrating my removal from every aspect of my life. I just returned the favor. Where is Isabella? Safe, away from the people who tried to steal her through forged documents and manipulated affections. Stewart checked his watch. Dr. Garrison's license suspension should be official by now. Daisy's disbarment proceedings start next week. The SEC has Marcia, and you. He gestured to her frozen phone. The locked house, the investigating officers. Get to watch it all burn. Tom's legs gave out. She sank onto the steps, her perfect world collapsing around her. The truth always comes out, Tom, Stewart said quietly. Sometimes it just needs a little help. 1 year later, Stewart adjusted the nameplate on his desk. CEO, rival GROWLED tech conglomerate. The merger had been his final masterpiece, combining his security expertise with GROWLED Tech's market presence. A gentle knock interrupted his thoughts. Isabella stood in the doorway, holding something behind her back. Come in, sweetheart, Stewart smiled, noting how much she had grown in the past year. At 13, she was starting to look more like him than Tom. Isabella approached the desk, revealing a handmade card. Happy Father's Day, Dad. She placed it carefully next to his computer. I am sorry I ever called him father. Stewart pulled her into a hug, feeling her tears dampen his shirt. The past is past, Isabella. We are building something new now. Miss Kemp helped me make the card, Isabella said, wiping her eyes. She has been perfect at helping me understand everything. Stewart glanced at the photo on his desk, himself and Trina Kemp at Isabella's latest art show. The art teacher had been invaluable over the past year, helping Isabella process her trauma through creativity. Speaking of Miss Kemp, Stewart smiled. She is coming over for dinner tonight. Is that okay? Isabella's face brightened. Can we show her my new paintings? Of course, Stewart watched his daughter head to the door, her step lighter now. Love you, sweetheart. Love you too, Dad, the real one. After she left, Stewart opened his desk drawer. Inside lay one final file, evidence of Marcia's new identity in South America. He had fled there after making bail, just before the SEC could file additional charges. Stewart closed the drawer without touching the file. Some cards were better held than played, especially when your enemies think they have lost everything already. His phone buzzed. A text from Trina. Still on for dinner? Isabella mentioned something about new paintings. Stewart smiled, feeling the warmth of possibility. The past year had taught him that the best revenge was not just destroying the old life. It was building a better one from the ashes. He glanced at Isabella's card, then at Trina's message, and finally at the closed drawer containing Marcia's whereabouts. The old Stewart would have played the last card, ensuring complete destruction, but he was not that man anymore. Maxwell could keep his false identity in South America. Tom could have her small apartment and limited visitation rights. Even his father, Samuel, could maintain his cautious distance. Stewart had something better: truth, trust, and a future unmarked by deception. He picked up his phone to reply to Trina, leaving the past locked away where it belonged. Sometimes the most powerful move was not the final shot. It was knowing when to holster the weapon and walk away. 5 years later, the courtyard of Isabella's high school graduation buzzed with excitement. Stewart Patterson adjusted his tie, watching his 18-year-old daughter accept her diploma with the highest honors. Beside him, Trina squeezed his hand, her wedding ring catching the Julian sunlight. Dr. Isabella Patterson, Stewart murmured proudly, Harvard Medical School's youngest accepted student this year. In the back row of the ceremony, Tom sat alone. Her designer clothes had been replaced by off-the-rack business casual. 5 years had carved subtle lines around her eyes, souvenirs of a fall from grace. She never quite recovered. The corporate world had a long memory. After the GROWLED Tech scandal, no major company would touch her. She had finally found work as an administrative assistant at a small accounting firm, living in a one-bedroom apartment across town. Her court-mandated visitation had expanded slightly over the years, but the damage to her relationship with Isabella proved permanent. Mom is here, Isabella noted after the ceremony, her voice neutral. 3rd row from the back. Stewart nodded. Do you want to? Maybe later. Isabella adjusted her honor cords. The research team is waiting to take photos. Dr. Watson wants to celebrate her star in turn. Flora Watson had flourished in the aftermath of GROWLED Tech's fall. As head of research and development at the merged rival GROWLED Tech conglomerate, she had created a prestigious internship program. Isabella had been her star protege for the past 2 years. Their shared interest in genetic research was strengthened by an unspoken understanding of betrayal and redemption. Speaking of celebrations, Trina linked her arm through Isabella's. Your father has a surprise." Stuart led them to where Clint Irwin waited by his car. His best friend had remained a steadfast ally, now serving as chief strategy officer for the conglomerate. "Ready for your graduation gift?" Clint grinned, handing Isabella an envelope. Inside was a deed to the beach house, the same one Samuel had transferred to Isabella's trust 5 years ago. But this deed was different. It listed Isabella as the sole owner, with no trusts or conditions attached. "It is yours, free and clear," Stuart explained. "For weekend escapes from medical school, or maybe a summer research station, your choice." His eyes welled up. "But what about Grandpa Samuel? I thought he still had partial." "He signed over his remaining interest last week." Stuart watched his daughter process this. "He has been trying, in his way. The trust fund he set up for your education, he doubled it. He said something about investing in the future instead of hiding in the past." Samuel Patterson had spent the past 5 years attempting to rebuild bridges, with mixed success. He and Stuart maintained a cautious relationship, bound more by shared regret than genuine warmth. But his dedication to Isabella's future never wavered. Later that evening, at the celebration dinner, Stuart's phone buzzed with a news alert. Marcia Lamb's face filled the screen, older, grayer, but still recognizable. The headline read, "Former tech CEO arrested in Argentina, facing extradition." "Everything okay?" Trina asked quietly. Stuart showed her the alert. 5 years of freedom had made Marcia careless. His false identity in South America had held until he tried to start another tech company. His ambition once again proved his downfall. "Should we be concerned?" Trina's protective instinct toward Isabella showed in her furrowed brow. "No." Stuart deleted the alert. "His time in our story is over." Across the restaurant, Isabella sat with her research team, animatedly discussing genetic markers and inherited traits. She had taken the pain of Marcia's deception and transformed it into a passion for understanding genuine genetic relationships. Her work with Flora focused on developing better tests for hereditary diseases, a direct response to the fraudulent testing that had once been used to claim her. The dinner crowd included other familiar faces: Ava Woodward, whose venture capital firm had prospered from the merged company's success; Kay Whitman, who had parlayed her documentation of Samuel's activities into a successful corporate compliance consulting business. Even Dr. Garrison had rebuilt a small practice, though she now specialized in helping families heal from betrayal rather than facilitating it. "Dad," Isabella called from her table. "Dr. Watson wants to know if I can start the internship early, before Harvard." Stuart smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm. The past 5 years had transformed her from a confused 12-year-old into a confident young woman. She had inherited his analytical mind and Trina's artistic sensitivity, creating a unique perspective that impressed her mentors. Tom watched from her corner table, invited out of protocol rather than forgiveness. Her carefully orchestrated future had crumbled into a life of quiet regret. Weekly therapy sessions and monthly supervised visits had not rebuilt Isabella's trust. The daughter she tried to manipulate into accepting a replacement father now barely acknowledged her as mother. "You know what today reminds me of?" Trina asked later that night as they walked along the beach near their home. "What is that?" "That conversation we had in my art classroom, right after everything fell apart." Isabella was so lost, so hurt. "You asked if I could help her process through art therapy." Trina smiled at the memory. "I never expected it would lead to this." Stuart had not expected it either. Trina's gentle guidance had helped Isabella find her voice through art, then through science. Their friendship had grown naturally into love, culminating in a quiet wedding 2 years ago. Isabella stood as bridesmaid. Her speech moved everyone to tears. A final news alert buzzed. Former Globe Tech legal counsel Daisy Lawson denied reinstatement to Bar Association. Another consequence of betrayal playing out years later. The network that had enabled Marcia and Tom's scheme remained permanently fractured. In his home office that night, Stuart logged into the secure system he built for the merged company. The dashboard showed steady growth, ethical practices, transparent operations, everything Marcia's leadership had lacked. Working late, Isabella appeared in the doorway, still in her graduation gown. "Just checking something." Stuart closed the laptop. "Proud of you, sweetheart." "I know." Isabella sat in the visitor's chair. "I saw the news about Marcia and Miss Lawson. Does it bother you?" Isabella considered this. "Not really. They are like a cautionary tale now, a reminder that truth matters. Identity matters. Speaking of identity, Stewart opened his desk drawer and pulled out a folder. I found these when we were preparing for Harvard. Inside were Isabella's original birth certificates and early medical records. Real ones, documenting her actual genetic heritage. No fraudulent tests, no manipulated data. Your mother asked to see you next week, Stewart mentioned carefully, before you leave for Cambridge. Isabella traced her finger over her birth certificate. Maybe. I have not decided yet. Does that make me a bad person? No, sweetheart, it makes you honest. Stewart watched his daughter wrestle with the same questions that had haunted him. Sometimes the hardest truth was accepting that forgiveness and trust were different things. Through the window, they observed Trina in the garden, preparing Isabella's favorite area for a weekend art session. The studio they had built there had evolved into a haven, blending science and creativity in a manner that helped Isabella grasp both her history and her future. You know what's strange? Isabella stood smoothing her graduation gown. Despite all their scheming and manipulation, they never grasped the one thing that truly counted. What is that? That being a father isn't defined by legal papers or DNA tests. She embraced him firmly. It's about showing up every single day, through all circumstances. Stewart held his daughter, recalling the frightened 12-year-old who had avoided his inquiries about Marcia. 5 years had changed them both, converting betrayal into resilience and pain into direction. In the garden, Trina announced that the studio was prepared. Isabella stepped back, drying her eyes. Time for one final painting before Harvard shows the way, Dr. Patterson. Stewart grinned. As they moved toward the garden, Stewart's phone vibrated one last time with a message from his father. Proud of you both. The trust was never about finances. It was about having faith in her future. Stewart put the phone away, observing Isabella and Trina arranging their easel in the dimming light. Marcia and Tom had attempted to engineer the ideal takeover, but they had failed to comprehend a basic reality. Genuine families are not constructed on paperwork and deceit. They are built gradually, truth by truth, love by love. The setting sun bathed the garden in hues of potential. In the distance, waves broke against the shoreline. They now truly possessed Isabella's laughter blending with Trina's soft guidance, forming a harmony of recovery and optimism. Occasionally, Stewart reflected, the ultimate revenge did not lie in ruining the former life. It was in creating a fresh one so radiant that the past faded into a remote lesson, instructing everyone about the real significance of family, trust, and love. The cost of betrayal had been steep, but the benefits of truth turned out to be immeasurably larger. And there you have it. Another story reaches its conclusion. What did you think? I would love to hear your opinions in the comments below. If you like this story, think about joining our community by subscribing. It means everything to us. For more stories like this, check out the recommended videos on screen, and I'll see you there.